The Arizona sun blazed mercilessly over a forgotten airstrip, its shimmering heat casting illusions across the cracked tarmac. There, like a sleeping beast, rested a Gulfstream G550 jet, sleek, luxurious, and utterly dead. Its hydraulic system had failed after landing, the fuselage hissed, and the once proud engine sat in silence. Inside the cabin, Vanessa Crawford, high-powered executive and self-made billionaire, paced furiously, her heels clicking with frustration. Vanessa was a woman used to solutions. In her world, problems bowed to money. She paid for efficiency, demanded respect, and expected immediate results. Yet here, in the middle of nowhere, no technician would come. Her phone had no signal. The pilot had abandoned her after a heated exchange, and her assistant sat frozen by the door, unable to offer more than worried glances. Fuming, Vanessa exited the jet, shielding her eyes from the searing sun. The runway stretched endlessly in both directions, empty except for a rusting hangar in the distance and the distant hum of cicadas. She muttered under her breath. This was unacceptable. She stormed toward the hangar, fury trailing her like a shadow. Her blazer snapped behind her like a flag of war. But just before she could yank the hangar door open, she froze. Someone was already there. A teenage girl, no more than 17, emerged from the shadows, dragging a toolbox nearly twice her size. She wore greasy overalls, her hair pulled into a tight bun, her hands streaked with oil. But it was her eyes that stood out, sharp, focused, and unwavering. "I saw the smoke," the girl said, nodding toward a small trailer behind the hangar. "I think I can help." Vanessa blinked. Then laughed. "You? Where's your supervisor?" "My name's Riley." "Riley Cole," the girl replied, unfazed. "My dad used to work here. He was the janitor. I hang around, fix things. Planes, engines, motors. I like solving problems." Vanessa scoffed. "You fix planes? That's cute." But Riley didn't respond. She walked past the billionaire executive, crouched beneath the jet's wing, tapped twice on a side panel, and opened it like she had done it 100 times. Vanessa watched in stunned silence as wires were separated, fluids checked, and parts adjusted with the ease of a seasoned engineer. 10 minutes later, the jet's systems blinked green. The engines purred back to life. Riley stood, wiped her hands, and said simply, "You're good to go." Vanessa stared. Speechless. Who was this girl? How could she fix a G550's hydraulics in minutes, a task even licensed engineers would hesitate to touch? Her assistant whispered, "How did she know what to fix?" Vanessa didn't answer. She watched Riley walk away, toolbox trailing behind her, disappearing like a ghost in the desert heat. "Wait," Vanessa called out. "Who taught you that?" Riley turned, her expression unreadable. "My father. He was obsessed with aircraft. Cleaned hangars by day, studied manuals by night. Taught me while he worked. Said knowledge was free if you were hungry enough." Then she was gone. Vanessa reached into her purse, pulled out a crisp $100 bill. "For your help." Riley looked at it. "I didn't help you for money." And she vanished behind the hangar. Back in her Manhattan office the next morning, Vanessa couldn't focus. A major deal with a Saudi investor loomed, but her mind kept drifting back to the girl. Riley. The one who had treated a billion-dollar jet like a backyard project. She opened her laptop, accessed a private aviation registry. The airstrip Riley had fixed the jet on was no longer officially recognized. The hangar had no active license. Her plane wasn't even supposed to land there, it had been rerouted due to a storm. But Vanessa remembered the trailer behind the hangar. She made a call. "Buy that airstrip today. And find the girl living in the trailer." By sundown, her lawyer confirmed it, the land now belonged to her, and the girl's full name was Riley Cole. That night, Vanessa stared at her reflection in her 37th floor window. Riley's calm confidence haunted her. No pretense. No ego. Just quiet, revolutionary brilliance. She whispered to herself, let's see what happens when a girl like that is given the sky. The next morning, Riley was jolted awake by a deep mechanical roar. Not a lawnmower, not a passing truck, this was different. She peered out of her trailer window. A convoy of black SUVs rolled toward the hangar, dust trailing behind them. A gleaming white helicopter descended nearby, blades slicing the air. She stepped outside, boots crunching on gravel. From the lead SUV emerged Vanessa Crawford, no longer sweaty and stranded, but poised and powerful. What are you doing here? Riley asked. Vanessa didn't smile. She handed her a manila folder. You're standing on land I now own. As of last night, this entire property, including the hangar, belongs to my company. Riley's heart dropped. So you're here to kick me out? No, Vanessa said. I'm here to offer you a job. Riley blinked. A job? Vanessa nodded. You fixed something most engineers wouldn't touch. You think like an architect. You move like a surgeon. And you walked away like you owed nobody anything. That's exactly who I need. I'm not qualified. Exactly, Vanessa replied. We're building a diagnostics lab here. A mobile innovation hub. Using your layout. Your knowledge. You'll lead it. Lead it? I've never even filled out a job application. Vanessa stepped closer. Then don't. Build the plane. Fix the impossible. That's the job. Behind her, crews were unloading steel beams. The airstrip was transforming into something else, something new. Riley whispered, what if I fail? Vanessa smiled for the first time. Then fail louder than anyone ever dared to try. Riley looked back at her trailer, her worn toolbox, and then at the rising structure around her. For the first time in her life, she didn't step back. 6 months later, the airstrip was unrecognizable. Where rust once reigned, there were now sleek panels, solar arrays, and blue LED-lit runways. In the heart of it stood a facility unlike anything for miles. At its helm, Riley Cole. Her greasy overalls had been replaced by a custom-stitched flight jacket bearing the initial CSI, Cole Sky Industries. Today, her first aircraft, a hybrid jet called Skyfire 1, was about to take flight. Inside the control room, engineers buzzed around her. On the observation deck, Vanessa leaned in and asked, ready? Riley nodded. Fuel matrix is stable. Altimeter is green. It's go time. On the runway, Skyfire 1, a sleek bird of innovation, rolled forward, its engines humming with quiet power. Riley had named it after what her father used to call her when she solved complex problems, my little Skyfire. As it lifted from the ground, cutting through gravity and logic alike, the room erupted into cheers. Riley exhaled the breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Vanessa placed a hand on her shoulder. He would have been proud. Riley whispered, he always believed I could fly. Even before I believed I could walk. The moment went viral. Soon, Riley's name echoed through aerospace circles. Skyfire 1 was followed by 2, then 3. Her designs pushed boundaries, faster, cleaner, more efficient than anything in the commercial skies. Yet Riley remained grounded. She still remembered building model planes from cereal boxes and salvaged wire, still wore the pendant her father had given her, a tiny wing, symbolic of the dreams they shared. At the National Aerospace Innovation Summit, she stood on stage as the keynote speaker. But her eyes weren't on the flashing cameras or applauding engineers, they were on the old man in the front row. Her father, Michael Cole. The retired janitor. The man who had never held a title but gave her the wings to rewrite destiny. The moderator leaned in. Before we begin the Q&A, Riley, would you like to say something? She stepped forward. The room fell silent. I've spent most of my life being told where I belong, she said. That I belong behind a mop. Under the hood. In the background while others present my work. But someone believed in me before anyone else knew my name, my father. She turned to Michael, her voice trembling. He brought me broken calculators from school trash bins so I could take them apart. Gave me my first toolbox when I was 6. And when people laughed at the idea that a janitor's daughter could design aircraft, he smiled and said, "They'll see." The crowd rose to its feet. Michael wiped away tears, overwhelmed. Later that evening, Vanessa handed Riley a letter. It was from a girl in Nebraska. My science teacher told me girls can't be engineers. But I saw your video. I saw what you did. Now I know they're wrong. Riley folded the letter and tucked it into her jacket. That night, Riley stood on the deck of her now bustling facility, overlooking rows of aircraft preparing for launch. A reporter beside her asked, "How did all this start?" Riley didn't hesitate. It started the day a CEO's jet broke down in the middle of nowhere. And the only one willing to get her hands dirty was a janitor's daughter. The reporter nodded. And what's next? Riley looked up at the stars. Fly higher. And she would. Because the sky was no longer the limit for Riley Cole. It was just the beginning.